Zeus started in Egypt way back in 1773 BC, where they used animals in rituals. The Romans adopted the tradition, except they used around 300 BC, where they used them animals in games and for entertainment, like in the Colosseum. Fast forwarding to around the 1700s, this is where we begin to shift to the more modern model we see today. However, only recently in the 1900s do they start to consider animal welfare. The current model of zoos was developed in the 1980s, which is only about 40 years ago. The Minnesota Zoo is an accredited member of the AZA, which strives to align themselves with societal views. They also put an extreme emphasis on conservation. The Minnesota Zoo puts a large emphasis on conservation, where they may help multiple species of animals. The zoo is partnered with, for example, the zoo is partnered with the Namibian Conservation Program to help save black rhinos who are being poached and avoid extinction for them. They also paired with the Tiger Conservation Campaign to help raise money and awareness for their survival. They also have educational programs like the virtual and online classes, field trips, preschool courses for young children, and summer zoo camp, where they aim to improve the knowledge of the people in order to get them interested in conservation and animal welfare. They are active in animal welfare, which they provide. On their website, they boast that they provide feeding, sensory, novel object, environmental, training, and behavioral enrichment. For example, they provide puzzles like frozen food for animals to act as puzzles. They say on their website that they give tigers meat sickles, where and the tigers put them into a pool to help melt them so that they can eat it. They also play sounds to help stimulate their senses. They also provide smells to activate territorial behaviors, as well as providing scratch posts for animals like tigers. All of these animals have feeding enrichment, as well as puzzles and all of that sort of thing. They also give them novel objects to stimulate them as well. Unlike most exhibits at the zoo, the farm animal exhibit allows you to interact with these animals. Again, there isn't any mention of conservation with these animals. That may be because there are commercial markets that sell farm animal products. These animals experience social and enrichment activities because they are grouped together. Although they may be prone to stressors that other animals at the zoo do not have, this is because their exhibit is much more interactive, which leads to stressors like sound, forced proximity to humans, and restricted movement. However, the zoo provides proper care to avoid these potential stressors. This exhibit helps change people's perspectives of these animals by having these interactive exhibits. It attempts to change people's views of these animals from food to animals. Close contact with these animals does a good job of accomplishing this. Here you just see other close contact. There's a whole section in the zoo dedicated to birds. The zoo provides a strong environmental and social enrichment for these animals. There are plenty of perches, branches, and leaves so that the birds can exhibit their natural behaviors, as you can see. There are multiple birds in the exhibit so that they can interact with one another and make sure that their social enrichment is fulfilled. There are also plaques where the guests can read the information about these exotic birds. They also help with the conservation effort of exotic birds. For one example, they help raise money and help aid in the conservation of blue-throated macaws. This exhibit does a really great job of demonstrating birds in an unstigmatized way. In the media, especially, exotic birds are often portrayed as helpless due to the deforestation of their extinction forces. Showing many of these critically endangered species helps change humans' perceptions of these animals and make them passionate about them in a way that isn't just sadness or guilt. And as you can see here, each of them have their own environments that's uniquely fitted to them and making them happy. They also have other enrichments like feeding. As you can see, there is a large space dedicated to the wolf exhibit. This provides them with tons of environmental enrichment. They also help provide them with social enrichment because they have 3 other animals, as seen throughout the multiple videos. There wasn't any mention of any conservation efforts for these gray wolves specifically on the website. However, there has been a large-scale conservation effort in North America to help the wolves. Compared to the birds, wolves have a much different public perception. I would say most people find them cool or interesting because they're carnivores, or maybe they're just related to dogs, which we love so much. Showing how they act on a regular basis helps inform guests about wolves because they aren't really shown exhibiting their natural behaviors. Most people just know wolves from popular media.